Hey, my friends, let's be honest just for a moment. Australians saw this coming. When the current Labor government pushed through its expanded hate speech laws, ordinary Australians weren't confused. We weren't naive. We understood something instinctively because history has taught it again and again. When governments create vague speech laws, they are never applied evenly. We were told these laws were about protecting harmony. We were told they were about keeping communities safe, social cohesion. We were told only extremists would be affected. But Australians who pay attention knew better. They knew these laws would not be used against the loudest, most aggressive or most threatening voices, but against the most restrained, the most law-abiding and the least likely to push back. And historically, that has meant Christians and Jews. Why? Because these communities still believe in restraint, law and order. They trust institutions, even when those institutions stop deserving that trust. Australians watched as protesters erupted where slogans calling for violence were excused as contextual anger. They watched as authorities bent over backwards to explain away rhetoric that would never be tolerated if it came from a church pulpit or a synagogue lectern. And they noticed the pattern. The message became clear. Some speech is dangerous, some speech is understandable, and the line between the two depends on who is speaking. This is what people meant when they say the government has become appeasers. Not of everyday Muslims who live peacefully and lawfully, but of ideological pressure, of activist blocs, of loud minorities who know how to accuse, intimidate and mobilise outrage. Appeasement is not compassion. Appeasement is not fairness. Appeasement is fear dressed up as virtue. Australians knew that once offence became the standard, instead of intent and action, the net would be cast wide, and it would land first on those who speak plainly about faith, morality and truth. A pastor quoting scripture, a Jewish speaker criticising radical ideology, a Christian parent defending biological reality. None of these were violent, none of them were illegal, but all of a sudden they became problematic. And here we are in today's world. A Jewish influencer is stopped at the border, not for planning violence, not for breaking the law, but for words deemed unacceptable by this Labor government that has repeatedly tolerated far worse language when it flows in more politically convenient directions. This isn't about protecting Australians, it's about controlling the narrative. Listen to that, Tony Burke. Strong nations do not survive on appeasement. They survive on equal law, clear standards, and the courage to apply them without fear or favour. Once a government starts picking which beliefs are acceptable, it stops being a neutral arbiter and becomes an ideological enforcer. Listen to that, my friends. Just share this far and wide if you agree with what I've said. And remember, we are Australians. We can fight this government. Bless you.